China, we have discussed a lot of this about China this morning, and we know that China has a lot of fast developing e-commerce, and a lot of things are changing. And I just share my experience. I came back from China 2 weeks ago, and I had my longest holiday this time, 1 month staying in a hotel. So it's not easy. I had probably 8-9 tests during my entire stay. And so in China, the e-commerce, how fast it's changing. 6 months away from China. And when I go back to Shanghai, I have to download 4 apps to adopt the daily life in China. When I stay at a quarantine hotel in Shanghai, I have to order something delivered from grocery from a supermarket. My expectation for the delivery is within 3 hours, has to arrive my hotel. So if the delivery arrive next day, that is unacceptable. Secondly, I also visiting a lot of my customer and clients. And in Shanghai, for the electrical car, there are, I think, around 15 to 20% on the street, the cars are electrical car. So I think that is how fast, 6 months away from China, totally changed. So New Zealand and China trading partner, biggest trading partner, over 33 billion. And we have lots of, China is the world's second largest economy and the fast growing e-commerce market. So today, I'm honored to have 4 speakers from the leading academic institution, Alibaba, New Zealand local business, and the China e-commerce company. I will introduce each of them. Mr. Yongjian, you can see from Zoom, Dean of E-commerce Department of China Academy of Social Science. Kaisi, CFO and E-commerce Division, General Manager to Beijing Guangxin Technology. And 2 beautiful ladies, Brianne West, Founder, CEO of Ethique, and Maggie Zhou, Managing Director, Alibaba Group. Let's welcome them. So I have divided this panel discussion into 2 parts. The first part, we have 2 speakers from China. They joined from Zoom. So the question I have asked for Mr. Li Yongjian, Dean of E-commerce Department of China Academy of Social Science. There is forecast that 52% of China's retail sales will come from e-commerce in 2021. 52%. So that is half of our retail transaction actually is coming from online. That means the first time a majority of retail sales for entire country will move from offline to online. And the next highest rate of e-commerce of the sales, retail sales, is South Korea, which is 29%. And US is about 15%. And the rest of the Western Europe countries will be about 12.8%. So my first and the second question for Mr. Li is, as China is the world's fastest growing e-commerce market, the model of China's e-commerce is unique, and there's no example for China to learn from. So we are leading this e-commerce industry. So what is the future development trend of China's e-commerce? What role does China's e-commerce play in the development of world e-commerce? Mr. Li, can you please share your learnings?
Ladies and gentlemen, the topic I will share today is the status and the trend of China's e-commerce and its enlightenment to the Asia-Pacific region. My speech is divided into 3 parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about the status of China's e-commerce. The development of China's e-commerce is based on the rapid growth of internet penetration. By the end of 2020, China has nearly 1 billion internet users and close to 800 million online shopping users. Driven by this, by the end of 2020, China's online retail sales have reached 11.76 trillion yuan, or nearly $1,700 billion, accounting for 24.9% of the total retail sales, which is the highest among major countries in the world. But we have also seen that the growth rate of the e-commerce sales in China in recent years has been actually declining year by year. And by 2020, it has dropped to only about 10%. The second part is the trend of China's e-commerce. The first trend is that China's e-commerce business models continue to innovate. For example, live e-commerce. It has reached the scale of 1 trillion in 2020. The legal and regulatory system and the industrial ecology of e-commerce through live broadcast have been formed, so it will maintain a relatively rapid growth rate during the 14th five-year plan period. From the time spent by users, the proportion of time spent on live broadcast by Chinese internet users has exceeded 7%. The second trend is that cross-border e-commerce will continue to grow rapidly in China, and the number of cross-border e-commerce users in China has exceeded 140 million. The third trend is the innovation of business models that directly face consumers. For example, direct sales to consumer (DTC), C2M, and other personalized marketing methods are widely used. Millions of SMEs use platform ecology, use big data, artificial intelligence, and other digital technologies for personalized customization and drive direct sales to consumers. Then the fourth trend is that China has begun to establish a regulatory system for digital platforms. This system will play a role in three aspects. One is to further clarify the digital platform's responsibilities. The second is to regulate the behaviors of digital platforms, including unfair, competitive behavior, abuse of market dominance. The third is to standardize digital platforms' behaviors on using data. In the third part, let me briefly tell you the enlightenment of China's e-commerce development to the Asia-Pacific region. First, the Asia-Pacific region is the world's most potential e-commerce development region. The Asia-Pacific region accounts for 75% of global retail growth and 64% of e-commerce sales. 66% of consumers across Asia-Pacific bought online from an international retailer in 2020. By 2021, the Asia-Pacific region is expected to reach $7.5 trillion in e-commerce sales, according to e-marketer statistics. From a global perspective, 6 of the 10 countries with the fastest growth in e-commerce sales in the world are in the Asia-Pacific region, namely South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, the Philippines, and India. For example, Southeast Asia will be 310 billion digital consumers in the region by 2025, rising from 250 billion in 2018. The entire platform in the Asia-Pacific region is also growing very fast. From the perspective of the distribution of e-commerce users in the Asia-Pacific region, they are mainly in China, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Indonesia. From the perspective of the impact of the COVID-19 on the development of e-commerce in the Asia-Pacific region, the COVID-19 is also a huge promotion for the development of the Asia-Pacific e-commerce. 52% of consumers said that the pandemic has changed the way they will shop going forward. The online shopping penetration rate is expected to increase to 25% by 2025. That marks a 67% increase in 5 years. Regarding how the Asia-Pacific region should seize development opportunities in the future, we think firstly, accelerate the construction of digital infrastructure. China has a lot of good experience. Secondly, use digital technology to promote the digital transformation of SMEs. There are millions of SMEs sell goods online through digital platforms in China and have achieved rapid development. Thirdly, platform economy has become the mainstream of e-commerce, just like AliExpress, Flipkart, JD, Cola, Lazada. SMEs should use digital platforms to develop e-commerce business and promote the digitization and the intelligence of the supply chain. Fourthly, we must establish a good e-commerce ecosystem, including payment, logistics, and e-commerce service system and other related industries. After the ecological system, SMEs can sell online easily, which also enables SMEs to face the entire global market. Fifthly, improve residents' digital literacy, make internet penetration into the social economic. Thanks.
So Mr. Li has done a lot of study for government, and especially in e-commerce industry. And as we know that there's no example for China to learn from for the e-commerce industry. So it is important that, and we would like to ask Mr. Li, what lessons can New Zealand e-commerce learn from the development of China's e-commerce? Can you share to all of us today? Thank you.
OK， 我用中文讲一下吧，请翻译一下。那个
I will do the
关于中
translation.
国的，对关于中国的这个电子商务对于新西兰发展有什么建议或者有什么价值？我觉得主要这么几个方面啊。第一个，从整个电子商务发展来看，我们一定要从实体经济人和的发展来看电子商务的发展。那么这方面中国有非常好的经验，在中国很多大的电商平台都有实体经济人口发展的趋势，比如说京东、阿里巴巴这些电商平台，他们在全国各地都建立了一些电商的产业带。那么从未来发展趋势来看，中国的电商平台现在已经从一个单纯的这个销售渠道变成一个产业综合发展的平台。那么这是我们看到非常重要的一个方向。
OK。
那么第二个方面，就是我们看到中国电商
李老师，你
跟
等一下，我先
新西兰电商发展的一个启示，我们应该关注到，电子商务的发展一定是要和线下的商业融合发展。那其实在中国这方面已经有非常大的进展了。我们看到中国的电商平台正在跟大量的线下商业进行深度的合作，比如说阿里巴巴在2017年收购了大润发超市。京东和永和超市之间也有这个深度的合作协议，那么这些深度的合作关系，使中国的电商跟线下的商业它是一个共荣共生的关系，而不是一个我们大家想的一定一个竞争的、颠覆的，或者说你死我活的关系。这个对于中国电商发展是非常有价值的。我觉得未来从新西兰电商发展来看，这个也是非常好的一个，就是说。非常好的一个发展方向，也是要值得关注的。现在我们很多时候谈论中国电商的时候，真以为它一直在颠覆我们传统的商业模式，其实不是这样的。我们看到中国的电商平台，它利用自己的技术，利用自己的这个就是说优势条件，正在一步一步的改造线下商业。
Okay. So quite a lot. So the first point that Ms. Li just said was e-commerce has already merged with China's real economy. So e-commerce is not alone. So e-commerce has emerged with real economy supporting each other. For example, Alibaba, they have worked with a lot of industrial area. And so it's not only e-commerce online, it is a whole industry, whole ecosystem. So that is the first point. So secondly, e-commerce is also need to work with offline industry. So it is not online has taken all the business from offline. Actually, we can see that online to offline, offline to online, it has an interaction with each other. So e-commerce, by leveraging e-commerce advantages, efficiency actually can support to real business, real traditional business and offline business to improve, to getting better. 还有吗，李老师？
OK， 第3点就是从中国电商发展对于新西兰整个的电子商务发展来看，我觉得第3个方面就是一定要注意商业模式的创新。我觉得电子商务发展到现在，它不单纯是一种一成不变的这个商业模式。其实我们在中国看到了大量的商业模式创新，比如说电商依靠这个电商平台，结合这个线下的生鲜消费场景，我们产生了大量的这个新的商业模式，比如说盒马呀，比如说这个七鲜呀这样的。 还有就是说，直播电商这个，刚才我在 PPT 里面已经有详细的解读，已经有万亿的规模了。我们可以看到很多这个直播平台也在大力的发展电商。那么第3个方面就是社交电商啊，通过跟这个就是说社交网络的融合，产生了像拼多多这样的，就是说现在市值已经达到上1000亿美元的平台企业。OK.
Okay, so the number 3 point is that the e-commerce has continued to innovate. So there's for example, Alibaba, they have a Hema store. So that is innovation. And we have a live streaming, that is innovation. So a big number of the sales transaction currently for the e-commerce actually is going through a live streaming in China. So that has always changing. So the recommendation for us, for New Zealand, is that keeping innovating for the new things, to try new things for e-commerce. So that is from Mr. Li. 好，非常感谢李老师，谢谢你的时间。
That's all.
Okay, so now we move into the part 2, second question for Mr. Li Kaisi, CFO and E-commerce Division General Manager to Beijing Guangxin Technology. So, Mr. Li, I know that you have many experience in working with foreign brands for China e-commerce. We understand that the rapid development of China's e-commerce has provided huge business opportunity for global brands. But what challenges will New Zealand brands, especially New Zealand SMEs, face in China market nowadays?
Okay. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here today. And I guess that's the sort of $1 million questions for how to tackle the Chinese market. I think at the end of the day, Chinese market does offer plenty of opportunities, but also has become hyper competitive. And it's no longer enough to just be a global brand and have success in China. And a lot of time and resources really have to be dedicated to the Chinese market. And I think one crucial area is consumer insights. Everything is digitalized nowadays in China. So consumers have become ever more so sophisticated. And it's no longer enough to simply have a great product. Rather, it must meet specific needs of the consumers. And products are produced with the aim of satisfying the specific needs of consumers rather than making a product and looking for a consumer later, which I think leads to a second point, and that's how to reach consumers. So platforms such as JD and Tmall nowadays have become known as more traditional e-commerce platforms in China, if you will. And I think now there are many new mediums, as previously mentioned, ways of reaching customers such as TikTok, Kuaishou, Pinduoduo, etc. And we've seen the success of many domestic brands such as Perfect Diary, a beauty brand that investing a lot of rich content delivered through live streaming and short videos to reach their end consumers. And I think that's paramount to having success in the retail market in China today. And also the offline, online component that Professor Li mentioned. how do you, really deliver a seamless experience to the consumers so they can touch and feel your products at the same time, using the efficiency of the online market and also the wide assortments and also information gathering to have a fuller understanding of what the product's offering. So I think those are a few of the key factors that I think are crucial to having success in the Chinese market today.
Okay, thank you. So in this morning, we have heard a lot about domestic brand in China. And so I'm a little bit nervous, actually. So how like New Zealand business, how we're going to get the market share? It is more competition. So I think this is something that we really need to want to find out that, and how New Zealand brands find a business opportunity in the context of rise of domestic brands in today's e-commerce environment in China. How are we going to compete with the local brand?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It's sort of always the question you ask, no matter where you come from, really. It's about finding that point of differentiation, right? And I think New Zealand products have, a really great existing image. It's natural, it's healthy, and it's trustworthy. And I think that's why we already seen some really great products coming from New Zealand in the Chinese market, whether it's dairy, honey, or pet foods for that matter. But there are only a few, and I think there's a potential for a lot more. And I think a big reason, is the lack of spending investment in consumer insights marketing, and really developing products that from the outset have Chinese consumers in mind. Nowadays, you're competing in a market where domestic brands are created with a singular purpose of satisfying the local Chinese consumers. And their quality have improved tremendously over the last 10, 20 years. So I think, for example, in beauty brands nowadays, they're tailored towards the image and culture background of a Chinese consumer. If you look at a lot of new and upcoming domestic food brands, they're developed based on the lifestyle of the Chinese workers. So I think for New Zealand brands to compete at the local level, I think it has to be built with the Chinese consumers in mind and really meeting the specific needs that they have. And I think, therefore, we can really take a page out of domestic brands' playbook, really tailoring towards those consumers' needs and leveraging the new content platforms that we mentioned earlier, whether it's live streaming or short videos, and really giving the Chinese consumer a real purpose of buying New Zealand products.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will have both of you stop here. So we will move to second part of our panel discussion. And also, thank you very much for joining us today. And I know it is national holiday, so both of you can have a holiday now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, pleasure being here. Thank you.
Yeah. And please leave the question for the ladies. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to Maggie and Brianne. So start with Brianne. You have always been deeply passionate about the environment. And so you set about learning cosmetic chemistry and looked to formulate a solid shampoo. I use the product. I love it. Okay. Yeah, really, yeah, it is. Yeah. And you figured that switching to a solid product would be the answer, not only to the water waste issue, but also plastic waste. It is very important. Last month I was in Fujian. I was in Pingtan, and I visited the beach over there. And actually, we can see that plastic waste, it is kind of issue for China. It is quite important. I love this idea. So the Ethique was started from your kitchen with the help of your mom. In 2016, Ethique went international. It is now the highest rated, fast-selling shampoo and conditioner brand on Amazon, believe it or not. Now, it's in over 2,500 retailers in 16 countries across the world, from Japan and Australia, US, Hong Kong, China, Vanuatu, and we just launched the store for Tmall last month. So this is a classic New Zealand brand, New Zealand business. We have seen, in New Zealand, many of this business. So for companies in New Zealand, including small and medium-sized enterprise, my question for Brianne is, has the Chinese market strategy changed before and after the epidemic?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here. I'm slightly intimidated. So I guess prior to the pandemic, probably for 4 or 5 years, as a company, we've been contemplating cross-border e-commerce half-heartedly. China has always been a monumental opportunity, and we've seen some New Zealand brands do a phenomenal job. And every now and then we'd revisit it. I mean, I've been talking to you, Gavin, for 3 years probably? Yeah. And every time we'd get close, and members of the team would be nervous and think maybe we'll just wait and have a look at it later. But last year, amongst all the upheaval, obviously we're in a lot of retailers around the world, and that became more of a burden than an opportunity, obviously. So e-commerce has always been a big keystone of the company, and we really wanted to concentrate more on it. So China became the focus of that discussion again, and we became much more aggressive about it. So that's when we sort of formalised our conversations with you and launched. We've only been on Tmall for about a month and a half, so I speak as someone who's been in the China market for a very little amount of time, and I certainly have no expertise at all. But from talking to business peers around New Zealand, there is sort of two conflicting thoughts. One is China is a massive opportunity. We all want to seize it. We're all very excited about it, and it kind of seems like a low bar to enter into, because with e-commerce you have that instantaneous conversation with your consumer, you get instantaneous feedback, and for small nimble brands that is brilliant. That's a win-win. We've already heard today how brands in China change so quickly. Well, so do smaller New Zealand brands typically. But the other side of it is that it's scary, it's hard, we don't have a clue where to start. There's lots of wonderful support, but it is something that's outwardly it's a little bit hard to approach. Where do you start? With the pandemic, I really think that changed, and people got a lot more aggressive, a lot more keen to explore the opportunity, because e-commerce is arguably safer at this point in time, and again, it has all the benefits that come with it. So I think on the whole, strategies have become, people are a lot more bold about it, people are a lot more keen. I know several brands who are preparing to list very shortly, and they certainly weren't even considering it with any real seriousness even 18 months ago. So I think really the pandemic has sped up decisions that we were eventually going to make anyway.
Yeah, I think we have seen many brands that they have started in New Zealand, then they jump into China first, and the second. So for Ethique, I think they have developed in other countries. Now they are more mature to look at the China market. So I think it is from a New Zealand local brand and start to as a global brand now. So my question is, how do you see the value of Chinese market in the process of brand globalization? Yeah.
Much like you're not a global brand if you're not in China in some way, shape or form.
That's right.
My opinion.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like being a bigger brand in America. People will naturally take you more seriously. Having a solid brand, good reviews, a decent amount of PR in a large market will naturally make other markets in that area pay more attention to you. And I think that's very true of China. We certainly see retailers who were not, in Asia in particular, in the Philippines actually at the moment, who were not interested as much prior, but now that we're looking seriously and exploring the China market, they are a lot more interested. So it does resonate throughout other parts of Asia.
Okay, so it is important for you to see as China as a part of your global strategy. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so I believe there's a lot of questions for you later. So let's move on to Maggie. Maggie, thank you very much. I know that you flew over from Australia for this event, and it is really a good opportunity to have you here. So Alibaba has been supporting the Australia and the New Zealand cross-border e-commerce ecology in the past few years. including organizing Alibaba e-commerce exhibition every year, and bring many high-quality New Zealand brands and products to China consumers. So it is also the preferred platform for brands to enter into China so far. So after the epidemic, how will Alibaba view the New Zealand brand market, and what service will it provide to New Zealand brands in the future?
Thank you, Gavin. And also thank you for for having me today. I'm very happy to be back to the New Zealand-China Business Summit again, which definitely is such an excellent and important event as always, right? So 2020, with no doubt, is really unprecedented and extraordinary year with challenges which have never experienced in generations. So look at what happened last year. The global pandemic, right? The geopolitical tension around the world. So today, the world is really full of uncertainty, but we still can find some certainty. The only certainty we have found, and the best opportunity of our time, is digitalization. Right, so last year, those businesses who pivoted their businesses to online very immediately and survive and even thrive well and even much better than before. Right? So China was the first to recover from the impact of pandemic. Right, so I would like to share some trends and consumer behavior change we are seeing in China. So firstly, I think it's the online population has increased enormously, and especially during COVID. So COVID-19 outbreak has shifted consumers' behavior from offline to online. And with many people venturing less outdoors, and more people get used to shopping online and even taking care of their daily living needs online, right? So it's notably that many of those increased population, they are elderly population who have never shopped online before. Right, so these kind of the behavior can become the long-term, the habit, and won't change even after pandemic. And secondly, I think is the demand of imported products remains strong, right? So before COVID, 2019, in China, already about 169 million Chinese people travel abroad. But due to COVID, due to the travel ban in many countries, so it's not possible for many Chinese go abroad. But the demand is still there. So what should they do? So the only way for them shopping the imported products is through online. Right. The number 3 is that, China today, actually shopping is like entertainment. So we call it shoppertainment, social commerce, right? So like the live streaming and the video now is become the phenomenon in China. So last year, so people is talking about live streaming, but actually last year, the live streaming is also different than the year before. Right, so before the pandemic, it's a live streaming mostly done by many KOLs and celebrities. But last year during COVID, more and more live streaming done by many CEOs of the brands, and even the head of the village, they're also promoting the products to the end consumer directly. Yeah, so it's very interesting. And this is also changing the business model as well, right? So the 4th thing I think is that this COVID actually educated a lot of people. We should care more about our health, right? Care about our own health, care about parents, your kids, and even your pets, right? So today, actually, like the health supplement still plays a very important role, and is also embracing more function and serving different groups of group of people, right? Like a healthy food, like the mother and baby product, and also those pet food, and even the natural skincare products that all today actually sold very well, right? But New Zealand, I think, is really has the best place with clean environment, open economy, and also high quality products, right? So for me in Alibaba, I have been in this company for more than 21 years. So with 5 years in that, I have been in Australia and New Zealand market, right? So I'm luckily, the second month after my appointment to Australia and New Zealand, I remember that was April 2016. New Zealand former Prime Minister Sir John Key visited China with a business delegation. And I had the opportunity to sign the MOU with NZTE with Peter Crisp, and which witnessed by former Prime Minister John Key and also our chairman Jack Ma. Right. So since the agreement signed, and this actually more than 700 New Zealand brands on our Tmall global platform, and also the GMV played already fivefold since signed, right? So Double 11 Shopping Festival last year actually is really the largest global shopping festival. New Zealand became the 7th most popular country selling to China. So in 2017 it's number 12, 2018 is number 9, and then 8, and the last year's become number 7. So New Zealand business has really done a great job. So we actually really want to work with in this local market, want to helping the local New Zealand businesses to towards to another success. So recently we are working with NZTE. Also a new project is on the B2B opportunity. Right, so today many of the New Zealand business starting to step into China market through our B2C business, right? But also we have a lot of opportunities, and especially under this tough situation, I think it's really good to explore the opportunity on B2B to help you to access more wholesalers around the world. That will give you a lot of surprise, right? So the second thing I think is some initiative we want to do in New Zealand as well. We call it TOF, so like Tmall Overseas Fulfillment. This really want to build up the pilot to working with many of the small SMEs, helping you with the lightweight solution to step into China market. So we will have the TOF store under Tmall Global, running by us, but we're working with brands as the consignment model, but we will find some like the potential category and brands in China market to like to do the incubation. Right, so this is something we would like to do, and also in the local market, and also working with Gavin as a trade monster to be the partner to support the brands as well. So another thing is that in the expo, Alibaba e-commerce expo we held in 2019, right? So people ask when is the next? Right, last year actually it's the Alibaba e-commerce expo should happen in Melbourne, but due to COVID, we extend, and now extend to this year September. So Auckland and Expo will be the one afterwards, right? So we have the local team here, and Pierre is our country manager in New Zealand. And in table 22, which actually many people already know about with Pierre, and maybe you will know him, right? And also we have the team in Sydney and Melbourne. So we really want to looking forward to work further closely with the local business to help you support. Thank you very much.
Pierre is everywhere. So now I will come back to today's topic. It's a new retail. I only have probably 2 minutes left. So I nearly forgot to mention about new retail. So Maggie, I know that Alibaba is quite driving the new retail in China. So can you please share some of the new retail experience because every day we talk about the new retail. Is that just the e-commerce, or is there something else that maybe you can share with us? Thank you.
Like what Professor Lee just mentioned, like today is the commerce is not only online or offline. And in the future, it's online and offline will combine together. That is the new retail. Actually, Mark just now, with Mark, introduced the Hema freshable business very clearly, right? And this is really the format of the new retail in China. So today, it's like about 60% of the user, they use the freshable app. And they can order zesty kiwi fruit from the app and just waiting at home and allow this product from Hema Fresh, the store from your door immediately, right? But also, and there are 40% of the consumers still will like to maybe go to the freshable offline store with a family member at weekend, and also allow New Zealand lobster be cooked in the store and dined in the store, and afterwards you can also shopping online through the app at home, right? So this is a very traditional new retail model, Hema Fresh, and recently I think it's still keep innovation will be very important for us as a platform, but also for many merchants as well. Right, so Hema Fresh today recently also want to engage more with the consumer. So recently they have also the new model, maybe you haven't heard about before, that is Hema Mini. Hema Mini, they will just build up the convenience store in the community. And just to allow more people can have opportunity to enjoy the products from all over the world, right? So the traditional one is really like from the store and serve the people living in 3 kilometers radius. And the convenience store can help more people maybe within 1.5 kilometer radius can enjoy that, right? So another one is like Hema Pick and Go. That is mainly customized for many office workers, for your breakfast, for afternoon tea, because in the store it's quite busy. So those office workers can shop online and order online, and when go to maybe just online and through the subway, the metro. And then when you just take off, and then you go to the store, just scan the QR code and pick up from the cave, right? So it is really also a new innovation in the future that's really happening in China as well.
Thank you very much. So my last question is for Brianne. That is for Ethique. That is clearly started from New Zealand and now is an international brand, and they are working with China partner for their China strategy. So in terms, we learned that you need to have a local team, and you need to have a China knowledge. So in terms of internal infrastructure, management infrastructure, and people resource, how do you make this kind of a strategy for your internal the organization to cope with China market development?
You definitely need people on the ground in China. Mm-hmm. You need a partner, in my opinion, again, hardly an expert, but you need a partner based in New Zealand, and if you can, I think you need an internal China market team as well, and we're in the process of building that out. So obviously we partner with Gavin and Trade Monster, who has made sure that we've got all the operations and logistics side and all of that super exciting stuff that's all sorted, but very, very important, and something we wouldn't be able to do particularly easily. And then we've also got our team who work hand in hand with our partner to ensure we've got the right branding and marketing. At the end of the day, people are people wherever you are. You need a strong brand. They need to resonate with that brand. It's got to be, it's not just a product. You are selling a brand that someone has got to empathise with, really. They've got to want to believe in your brand, whatever it is. At the end of the day, we call ourselves the world's most sustainable cosmetics company, and I believe that wholeheartedly to be true. So we are aiming at a very small niche market at this point in the China market. That's how we approach every brand, every market, is we go in typically through e-commerce or D2C, and we hammer the environmentally friendly crowd, and they tell their friends and family how good the products are, and that's how we spread into a more mass market audience. I've sort of drifted away from your question, but it's absolutely critical to have experience in-house, and I think that goes for pretty much everything in your business. Outsourcing is great, but it's never as good as in-house, and you've got to have a partner you can rely on who's got people on the ground. So it's kind of infrastructure heavy to do it right.
Thank you very much. So what we can learn from you is that you can have many partners, but you need to have your own staff, your own team, to understand the market, to talk to the same language, and to understand the operation and for China market. So that is very important. Okay, so we have a few minutes for questions, and we can have the question from the floor, please, if there's any question. Otherwise, any questions?
We have experienced very clearly, right?
I can't see. Yeah, there's a.
You mentioned something about Timor. That's a small country as far as I know, but I think you might be an anagram for something else. Timor. Timo?
Timor, yeah. Timor.
Timor.
What does it stand for?
Timor is the platform under Alibaba Group. So Timor and the Timor Global, there are two platforms. One is for the traditional trade, and the other for cross-border e-commerce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a good question. Brianne, how much value do New Zealand's sourced ingredients add to a brand export offering, or is just being manufactured in New Zealand enough?
Entirely depends on your marketing and communications, to be honest. We don't use a lot of New Zealand source ingredients in our products because, to be perfectly honest, New Zealand doesn't typically make a great deal of cosmetic ingredients. It might make one or two, but most ingredients for most cosmetics companies in New Zealand come from offshore. So the messaging we go in with is that it's sustainably sourced but manufactured in New Zealand. And yes, we find that resonates with the consumer just as much. It depends on the market. Obviously, in China, it's important to a degree that it's made in New Zealand, but in other markets, it doesn't matter. I don't think it just has to be an ingredients thing. I think the manufacturing sort of sells it there.
Okay, Maggie, thank you for your insight sharing of consumer trends in China. Would Alibaba also share some data and facts regarding New Zealand product development of FMCG in China?
Thank you for the question. We will share some data actually according to like those campaign like a 11 shopping festival. There's we have some policy just to explore those data, right? So those kind of things that's under those campaign we can share. But for the specific brands and those data, it's really depend on different brand. If you are your brand owner on our platform, actually, you can just view your own data through your store, back store, right? So it's definitely just it's your assets.
Okay, this is another good question for Brianne. Your products have lots of selling points. I agree. New Zealand, high quality, waste-free. And what messaging is most important for Chinese consumer?
I would be lying to you if I told you that after 6 weeks in the market I had any real idea. You need a lot more data, you need a lot more time, and that is the benefits of an e-commerce model is you can do a whole lot of testing and a whole lot of learning, and that is why we're testing every single one of those messages. Thus far, New Zealand is a big piece, quality and efficacy is another big piece, less so waste-free, but then again it resonates with different audiences, and that's why that is kind of a hard question to answer. I don't know enough yet. And it depends on the audience you're targeting, and that's the beauty of digital marketing and performance marketing is you can target super niche audiences and find out what message resonates with them. It would be I would be lying to you if I said that most people in China resonate with, say, cruelty-free. I don't know enough yet, and it probably isn't true. People in different places want different things. People at different times in their life.
Okay, so there's a question from Frankie for Maggie. So, Alibaba is doing a lot of things, and so the question from Frankie is that what kind of the new implementation that Alibaba will help New Zealand SMEs and business to go into China market.
Thank you. I think the different businesses at a different stage. So we need to just talk one by one to understand your situation, to understand to do that. So like this year we will do the B2B. This model I think is more just simpler, maybe than what just like you're doing just a B2C business, right? Because that is helping to find the wholesaler around the world and help you to expand more region. Right, but for the B2C business model, we also need to understand if you are just already it's a mature, your brand awareness is mature in China market, or it's still at the very early stage. If that's a very early, we still need to suggest you to do the brand awareness first, and then just to open the store afterwards. Right. So this is really case by case. Welcome to talk with Pierre. Right.
Yeah, any question from the floor, please? Okay, so let's stop here. Thank you very much, and Brianne and Maggie, thank you again.
Thank you.